Hi. Some of you may be aware that a little over 2 years ago, I moved to Puerto Rico. Now, some people are aware that there's some strong tax advantages here now for businesses and investors, but that was not the main reason I moved here. I came here first in 1993 to speak. And in 1996, I came back after visiting an island called Culebra and bought a major piece of property that sat for many years. I was just buying this for the future. I was so enthralled by the beauty of it and the view there. And eventually, I started building a house. And in recent years, I was starting to finish this house, which took forever. If I'd have known, I would have done it differently. But that's past experience. And my wife and I were getting ready to move from Tampa, where we had been for many years, partly for business for me, but mostly my wife had to caretake a number of people in her family for many, many years. And so we were going to move back to her hometown of Miami. But of course, we saw the prices there. We'd been there for the first bubble, but the second bubble was like off the charts. And we saw how expensive it would be. We kept coming down here to work on this, spending time in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And finally, we just kind of think, well, why don't we move here? Where we have a condo now, it's a quarter of the price of what we pay for a similar beachfront condo, great view in Miami. We are literally 4 minutes from the local airport, not the big airport where we get there 15, 20, 25 minutes in advance. Don't even have to show our driver's license most of the time. They just weigh us. We get on a plane. 30 minutes later, we're landing on our island, literally an hour after we leave our condo door. I like this island. I like turquoise water. I like the people here. They have 12%, 15% unemployment after Maria and 12-year recession after they lost the pharmaceutical tax advantages so generously extended to them by the U.S. for many, many years. But there's almost no civil unrest here. And Puerto Rico is supposed to have high crime. Well, not in the areas we're at. So long story short, there's a lot of reasons I moved here. The tax advantages were not one of them at first. I looked at that. I was aware of it, but it didn't seem like I would really qualify without jumping too many hoops. And that wasn't my main, I didn't need to. These other goals more than satisfied my need to move here. So one thing I want to comment on today, in September, there was an article that came out in GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly, and I doubt you saw it because I wouldn't have seen it. I don't read GQ, and I doubt most of our subscribers and people like you do, but it was a good article because it did make clear the tax advantages for Americans here that most people are not aware of. But I did not feel like the article really gave a fair slant. I did an interview at what they call an Act 2022 Society gathering once a year, put on by Rob Rill. I'm a member of the society. I did finally qualify for the tax advantages through some people I met here and found a way to do it. So he puts this on once a year. And first of all, they made this gathering sound like it's just a bunch of rich people getting together getting drunk. Not the case. I've been to a number of these. Rob Rill, who's the head of the society, is a guy of high integrity. First time we met him, I knew I would join just because the fees go to charities that you pay, especially Street Dogs, which is my wife's own personal charity here. Street Dogs helping homeless people, things like that. And they don't try. His society does not try to encourage people to just move down here to save taxes and stuff. This is a lifestyle down here. There's a lot of opportunities down here. So this article was really trying to portray, oh, here's the next place that greedy rich people come and hang out and cheat to get away from taxes. Well, I can tell you here, I spend 85% of my time here. I live here. I have my vacation, retirement home here, potentially. I lease a condo in Condado, in the heart of the beach area of San Juan. I pay incredible personal property tax. Personal sales taxes here. And only go back for company meetings and vacations and to see friends. So my wife and I really moved here. A lot of people we know have done this. Some people do just come down here for the minimum, 183 days a year. But those aren't the lucky ones from my point of view. So I went out of my way to make this clear when I was interviewing this person. And I didn't know it was a magazine interview. I wish I had. I probably would have been a little more careful. But, I went out of my way to say, look, this is why I came here. I did not come here for the tax advantage. Do you think they put that in the article? No, because they're trying to portray the opposite. And again, I did not feel good the way the article came out. I want people to know, and I'm going to show you a way you can find out more here in a minute, that first thing I did when I got here is I applied my analysis to Puerto Rico like any other country in the world. And we have unique tools for looking at their demographic trends, urbanization trends, standard of living, the growth of it, all types of things. Exports, imports, how competitive they are. And Puerto Rico was a big surprise. They violated everything, principle that tends to apply to most emerging countries becoming more wealthy or middle class or even first world in some cases, like Puerto Rico. What people don't understand about Puerto Rico, it is almost like a state. These are American citizens. They can freely move back and forth from Puerto Rico to the United States. They can freely immigrate. They don't have to apply. They are American citizens. I can go here, with no passport and customs. Americans can come here. Americans can retire here, which I think more people should. Because of that, Puerto Rico has had a one-way street of people, especially young people at first, leaving the island. They get educated here. Education system is good here, and it's 60% cheaper, especially for colleges and universities, than the U.S. Homes and cost of living for real estate is about 60% lower, partly because they've been in a 12-year recession and that sort of thing. So a lot of people here get a good education, and then a lot of young people move to the United States. We're not talking uneducated people. We're talking Puerto Rico's best people. A lot of highly educated, college-educated, English-speaking with skills, professionals, doctors, and dentists, and they have shortages here of these people, are constantly moving to the United States. This is a big boon to the United States. 62% of Puerto Ricans live in the United States and only 38% here. And first country I've ever seen. The biggest movers here now are older people, retired people, because their kids and grandkids often are now in the U.S. The first wave came to New York and New England and New Jersey. The second wave went to Florida and Texas and other states. So they move here to be near them. So this one-way street cost Puerto Rico tax revenues, cost them economic growth, everything, opportunity for businesses. So they've been a loser for this. Well, back in 1976, U.S. gave its first gesture to compensate. And you have to understand, U.S. is that these tax advantages down here are meant, it's an agreement with the IRS in Puerto Rico. It's not something Puerto Rico's doing to try to draw people away from the United States. It's an agreement to help Puerto Rico compensate for their demographic loss. The pharmaceutical industry created tons of new high-paying jobs. Puerto Rico's now 46% manufacturing, 2.5 times that of Puerto Rico, who's a up-and-coming manufacturer and exporter. 70% of their exports go to the United States, so they're a big provider of goods for us. So instead of having to subsidize a country that keeps losing its best people in the United States, these tax advantages were designed. Well, the pharmaceutical was terminated in 2006. And again, Puerto Rico's been in a recession with 10% plus unemployment ever since. And then Hurricane Maria, now it's up to 15%. This place has been battered. There's still no civil unrest that I see here, especially in the areas I'm in. So now they have Act 2022. This is designed to attract people more in the financial services arena rather than pharmaceutical and manufacturing. And it's small. Only 1,500 people have moved here since 2012. Probably probably get up to 10,000 in the next so many years. It's not a lot of people, but these people have high impact. John Paulson, major hedge fund manager, saw this place, and he didn't end up moving here, but he has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in buying land, building hotels and condos, and is going to continue to do so. He fell in love with this island. I have put a lot of my net worth in this island, Culebra, and building this house, and we'll probably develop it further. And I see that's the biggest impact of the people I meet here. Some of them are starting major businesses. The crypto community is looking at coming here and making this a whole beta test to prove how cryptocurrencies can affect an entire community or city. And this could be one of the best things that happens. So there's a lot of potential here. But the main impact I've seen is people come down here and invest a lot of money in real estate. And like me, now I'm spending almost all my money here. I'm paying 11.5% property taxes. So yes, I'm saving income taxes on part of my revenue because I still source a lot of my revenue in the United States. And that's good. And I'm happy to. But I'm paying a lot of property taxes here. This country needs these people. And yes, when you have a tax advantage, of course, some people are going to exploit it and do that. But this is good for this country. I can see it here. It's not a giant thing. I wish this was more like the pharma thing where we could create a lot more jobs, but it may ultimately happen. This is not hurting Puerto Rico. They would not be getting even partial tax revenues if these people didn't come down here. So I see it as a good thing. But most importantly, and I can't cover this here, I have in May of this year in my Leading Edge newsletter, I did a special report on Puerto Rico. And I looked at the pros and the cons, the present, the past, the future, just like I look at any country. So if you want a balanced point of view, look at this report. I'm happy to give it to you for free. To get this free report sent to you, just click on the link in the description.